we are going to have seasons of different priorities. And it's not that they don't matter. It's not that they are not important. It's that um, there's only so much time in the
Yeah.
day. And mommy doesn't have to be the solution for everything and everyone, especially when you find yourselves like in a partnered relationship, which I
Yeah.
want to dive into.
Yeah.
Because what I hear from a lot of women when they are first considering even starting a side hustle or they know they want to just launch their own business is, I don't have any support.
Mm-hmm.
How much of that do you think is real
Mm-hmm.
versus how much of it is, especially if you're like first gen, eldest daughter, hyper independent, don't know how to ask for fucking help?
Mm-hmm.
How much of that is self induced pressure to do it all and just the inability to ask for help?
Yeah, such a good question. Janice, listen, you know I'm a straightforward cookie. I'll tell you this. If you want to do any of this, you need support. And sometimes we are blinded to the fact that support exists and it's going to sometimes, for the most part, exist outside of your circle.
Mm,
Janice and I were just talking about our nannies before we
mhm.
got on here. It's not our mom.
No.
It's our nanny. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that when you ask the question how much of it is self-induced, I think that the reality could be that you have no support. But the reality isn't that you can't get it.
Mm,
If
mhm.
you're out here and you can, and I hate to use this example, but if you can stand like we used to back in the day, hours for Black Friday, for the new iPhone, for all the BS, for now on Ticketmaster, waiting for the Chris Brown tickets, if you can stand in all of these lines virtually or in person and wait your turn for something you really need that you want in your life, you can do that for all the other stuff. So if
Mm,
right now you're saying to yourself, like, my husband and I, he's good with it, but we just don't have anybody to take care of the kids. Okay, go look for it. There are Facebook forums within your town. Okay. So if you live in Morristown, there's a Morristown Facebook group. There's a Morristown moms group. There's a New Jersey moms group. There's a
facts.
Central Jersey moms group, all on Facebook. And then there's the same thing on other forums. There's nanny.com, there's whatever.com. And then there are your local schools. You have to open up your mouth and talk to other people like, hey, what do you guys do for pickup and drop off? And
Yeah.
in my town, I quickly found out that a large percentage of them stay at home, like we're stay at home moms.
Mhm.
So when I started to figure that out, I was like, dang, like nobody got a nanny, so nobody knew anybody. So then I went on Facebook, I went to Princeton nanny groups. Like I did everything. I went through 6 to 7 nannies before I found the nanny I have now. That
Yeah.
is 2.5 years of nannies.
Mm,
2.5 years. And the part that I struggle with the most is obviously the transition for my kids and things of that nature. But like that's just an example of, yes, your situation, which is mine, was mine. I really didn't have support. I live an hour and a half. My family acts like I live in West Bumble F. When I only, and Janice knows because she's from North Jersey. Y'all act like we live, and
you
I'm
do,
from,
girl. You
yeah, no,
living
no,
el carajo.
I don't. See, I'm from North Jersey too, and y'all act like I live crazy far, and I
Yeah.
don't. And
Yeah.
so they don't visit me as much. And the reality is that we had to create our own support. But first, Terrence and I, my husband, had to be on the same page about what I was doing because he knows that he's married to somebody that when I put my head to something is going to happen. If I say I'm going to buy some red shoes, I'm going to buy the red shoes. If I say I'm going to build a business, I'm really going to build a business. It may not look like the traditional business at first, but I will do it. And I'm
Yeah.
also married to somebody that when he says I'm going to be a race car driver, he also became like, we know we're that person. So I don't want to go too deep, but I think the reality is that even if your situation is that you don't have support, you're lying to yourself if you're saying that you can't get it.
Mm, that's going to trigger a lot of people, but you are speaking fucking facts, okay? And I'm glad that you mentioned just the different mediums and platforms that exist because oftentimes I think there is this limited scope for people to understand like where you find support. Like if you don't have family, like then you have no options. And that is not true. I literally found my current nanny by posting inside of my neighborhood group. I come
Wow.
to find out that the post was shared with her by other residents of the community who had already used her as a nanny. Turns out we live 5 houses down from each other. We have mutual friends in the Zumba community because she's a fitness instructor. So it's just like, dude, the help could be literally right next door. But until you first humble yourself to understand that it is not your fucking responsibility to be a martyr and to do everything and then
Mhm.
complain about it.
And complain about it. Yeah.
Okay, because it's like one thing if you're gonna like be that martyr, ma'am. I don't want to hear your mouth. I'm sorry. I love you,
Mhm.
but we are modeling oftentimes what we saw our mothers do,
Mhm.
which is a lot of the self-sacrifice to the point of fucking exhaustion and depletion. And then you see a lot of these older ladies looking completely desolate in their just like in their souls because they've given up the majority of their lives to serving others, and then when their kids get older they never explored their own passions, they have no hobbies, they have no friendships, they have no fucking identity outside of motherhood. And a lot of that unfortunately has been self-induced because that is just what the expectation is.
Yeah.
So knowing that that is the example that we don't want to follow, we have to do things differently, and the first thing is understanding that you cannot pour from an empty cup and expect to serve anybody.
Mm-mm. Nope.
So, I'm curious, how much of that do you think was playing into like the health struggles and the, just the mental health aspect of how you were experiencing early motherhood?
Oh, that I actually never thought about that, but I suffered a lot. I hate to stuff. I feel so dramatic saying
No,
that.
I mean, that's the reality of it. This is shit that nobody talks about, but
Yeah,
it's the universal truth.
it's the universal truth. So so TJ, my son, was born in 2015, and I do have two older stepdaughters that are now 19 and 16. So they were when Terrence and I got married, they were 4 and 6, or 3 and 6. Sorry, 3 and 6. And so when we had TJ in 2015, you know, everybody says they'll be there.
Bruh, it's a fucking lie.
Everybody says they'll be there. And I think for us, we were 25 when we got married. Nobody was really getting married in my circle. And so that kind of really forced me to really keep my marriage private, which was a good thing. But once my son came along, it felt very lonely. It was just us two. And I never really I always attribute me being sick to like me just being forced to sit down and like stop, because I also got off of social media for 2 years. I think when I got sick, that exposed who was actually around, and I
Mm,
remember pruning a lot of relationships, a lot of friendships, and having really hard conversations with family members. Like I I'll share this very vulnerable story. I